We'll be following Willie more and more. Back in the NRL, there's Willie Mason.
That's forgotten how big Willie actually is.
Perhaps the presence of Willie had the Panthers looking at his imposing frame.
I'm a 25-minute man. Oh, you got skill, son.
Uppercut right hand by Big Willie.
Too fancy for you.
Welcome to episode number 17. Is that right, or have we just got last
17.
week? It's number 17. Okay, we've got number 17.
Did we skip last week, didn't we?
Skipped last week. Didn't happen. That was my fault, to be honest, because I was down in the snow because I'm extremely athletic.
Did you have fun?
It was so much fun.
Well, it was worth it.
It was
It's
so
a week
much
off.
fun.
Come on,
And
man. It's not big.
I'll tell you what, though, they're going to need a little bit of snow because as we were leaving, it definitely had deteriorated quite a bit. It was a good start, but yeah, I think they definitely need some new snow, to be honest, because
How do you get new snow?
it snows. It comes from the sky. They do make a lot there now, though. They
Yeah,
make
that's
a lot
what
of
I
snow.
heard.
How's the rain?
It's awful. My sisters and that live out west near Cabra and Fairfield. They nearly got taken out of their homes. Like it was just,
Yeah.
and I didn't even know it was raining that much. I couldn't really hear it. I was indoors the whole time. I was like, I didn't know it was raining that much, like that hard, until I saw. I think Frankie Pritchard put something up on his Instagram about Cabramatta Oval, and I was out at Cabramatta Oval this year watching the young Bulldogs play, and that whole thing is underwater. So that's where I realised, I mean, you know, shit's real out there.
It's actually really quite scary.
Ziggy, you good out there, mate?
Yeah, mate.
All good?
Yeah, I'm all par, so...
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, I've got mates that have got a place up at the Hawkesbury, and last time in the last floods, they basically lost everything. A lot of the Bronny blokes went up and fixed it, and they only just put furniture and everything back in on the long weekend, and now it's even worse underwater. So I think they're going to lose the whole place, which is just
sucks,
it's just
man.
awful. There's so many bad
It hasn't
stories.
stopped, has it? Like, it's terrible. Like, from COVID into this shit.
Didn't they say La Nina was finished?
Bonfires. Fires first, and Kobe Bryant died, and then it's just been backwards since Kobe died. My life hasn't been the same.
I just want to know who said La Nina was over, and then 5 seconds later, liar. Just lying to us. Maybe it's just
What
bit
a load
hope.
of shit.
Just a bit of hope. It's all finished. This could actually be our longest episode ever because we've got 2 weeks to make up on.
No, we don't.
We're going to do.
That's all gone last week. You know, they come out with these news every single fucking 36 seconds. It's ridiculous.
Is that the official every 30
Every 30 seconds there's a story out.
Yeah.
NRL's a fucking soap opera. You know that. We didn't miss much.
Huge.
Because last week was like everyone worries about Origin right now. Once you get this game 3 out of the way, that's what I wasn't really concerned about last week. Not to the amount I would be if it was like round 22 or something like that.
Yeah.
We would have done something. We would have zoomed or something like that. But it was like, these games, no one gives a fuck about these rounds. Get to Origin 3. Get through that, then we make the run into the finals. Finals are done. That's how it is. That's how you set your season up.
Do you reckon, like, they had the week off with International Rep Round, which was great with Origin, and then the week after, do you reckon that the bye weeks are worse, or do you reckon the weeks where people are backing up and
What do you mean, for entertainment-wise or as a player?
Just as a player or as even entertainment? Like
backing up from the rep weekend, so just say like anyone from either like Tonga, Samoa, New Zealand, and that'd be hard, man.
Yeah.
You sort of like, you'd be loving it if you were playing, like if you had to buy that week. You know what I mean? Like that week into that, you just can't get everything. Like all you got to do is play 2 hard games if you're in that rep round, and if you're one of those teams, you get the rest down.
Yeah.
It'd be perfect. Then you can really make like if you're one of these teams that are sitting outside the 8, recalibrate and try and make a run. That's what a lot of teams would be doing.
I remember you've always said that when you were playing, you always found that the games were almost in slow motion after State of Origin. So if you played on the Wednesday night and then you played on the weekend, then you were sore, but you still... Yeah. And I've noticed this week, like a lot of the Origin players... They were just dominant, you know.
Yeah, because you're in that, you're feeding off the best players in the competition, and you're playing at the most elite, toughest level there is. And then you go back to club football. It's like things become a lot slower and a lot easier. You come regardless if you're a veteran in Origin or you played a couple of Origins, you come back with this swag and a little bit of confidence that you know you can compete, especially after a win. Especially most of the New South Wales guys, and even guys like, I've got to give respect to Cherry Evans, comes back and dominates that game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he would have been pissed off that they lost, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you go back to club football with a different sort of attitude. Become more of a leader if you're a younger kid. And then you just got guys like Cherry Evans and all those other guys come back and just do the norm. Like you got to be that man. You're the captain of the state and your club. You expect that from Cherry. But all the other guys, like, who else played really well? Like,
Cook
Cleary, well. Like all the Panthers boys showed up.
Yeah, they do.
Like they're a bunch of dogs, man. Like they come out and they just beat you into, like they remind me of sort of like when we were playing, when we were dominant back then. Like everyone sort of loved each other. We had such a great camaraderie and everyone was just going to war for each other. It reminds me of like Penrith, what they're doing now, man. There's just a brotherhood out there that they've built. They're going to be so hard to beat. I've never seen a team dominate as much as this in the last, I reckon, 15 years. There hasn't been a real, like, just think about it, last 15 years, like, who's been, like, head and shoulders above all year and you think they're going to win? It's not real. We've been Melbourne, there's been the Roosters, there's been South, there's been all these teams, about 3 or 4. I'm like, I don't think Penrith have to fall over for them to lose this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Who is going to come near these guys?
And when you think about those Roosters, when the Roosters went back to back, they weren't schooling sides the way this Panthers side. No. And honestly, Will, the only thing that's going to beat the Panthers long term is a salary cap.
Salary cap and injuries.
They're not going to be able to contain the wage. Oh, look, they might stick together, but I mean, if you look with what happened with Burton and all
we got
sudden,
Burton and Kickow already gone.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, the Dog's got a bargain with Burton. To be honest,
he'd be sought after. Yeah. I mean, he's not opting for his third year, so he's going to test the market. So he's going to back himself. Kid's worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
I said that like a couple of years ago when he signed that deal for like $500. I said, we got him cheap.
Yeah, cheap.
Unlucky to him and his manager. Well, that's just the way it is. He wasn't a superstar like he is now. Now he's played well in his Origin debut and... like I'm not surprised. I don't know why people are surprised when they see quality players like that dominate in the biggest arena. They're supposed to.
Yeah.
I expected Burton to do that. I don't expect anything less from that kid because I look at him and I say, that's talent. He hasn't been playing with talent all year round this year. You put talent with talent, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised with kids with all that. There was so much. Like I expected him to do that sort of stuff. Like I'm not really surprised. Oh my God, Burton's a freak. I see him put up fucking 100-meter torpedoes every fucking day.
Do you reckon he's a 6 or a wing or a centre?
It's hard to say.
He's so
I think he's
good.
both. He's so talented, man.
Good.
Like I think people don't understand how big that kid is. He's like 6'3", 6'4".
He's big.
You got to give him a couple more preseasons. He might not be in the back row.
Lock.
He might lock. Ball playing lock. But yeah, he's got a silky skill set. He's got all the attributes to be one of the great players. So like, hopefully we can just cultivate and just keep building him as a player. Put good pieces around him. And hopefully he'll stay. He'll see staying here or going somewhere else. He's only going to go back to Penrith.
Or NFL punting.
I would seriously, if I was his manager, I'd be tapping on the doors of the NFL going, play to your 50. Just kick the ball 3 times a game. Get $5 million a year.
I'd do
go
that.
live in New York.
I'd do that, actually.
I'm going to go manage him.
All right, well, let's, speaking of Burton, and Burton, obviously, we've spoken about a couple of changes in the Panthers and the salary cap and that sort of thing. There's been a fair bit of player movement over the last little while. There's been a few, controversial. Let's call them controversial, clickbait. Matt Lodge to the Roosters. I'll tell you what, I get why people look at Matt Lodge and go, oh, well, he did that thing in New York and he's a controversial player.
No one's forgiven him for that. That's the thing.
Really?
If people grow and they get better and they get older and they learn from their mistakes, give him a chance.
Well, I'll tell you something, Will, that I've looked at. So he left the Broncos and the Broncos, Seabold wanted to make him captain. So he saw something in him that was, and he wanted the Broncos wanted to retain him. He left the Warriors. He went to the Warriors. He made an instant impact there in terms of his carries and things. And he was in a side that was, not going particularly well. And then there was some sort of hoo-ha, and he's left them. And now he's gone to the Roosters. I think, and this might be controversial, whatever, because it's Matt Lodge, but I think once Matt Lodge gets in a system where he's a senior player, but he's not part of the real leadership group. So there's blokes like Warrior Hargraves and that, they're not going to put up with stuff. They're going to control any sort of negative parts of his personality. Then they'll control that themselves. And the other thing is, he'll be winning football games.
Yep.
So when he's in an environment with the Roosters that is like a winning culture and they breed. They've had success with turning players that have been at the crossroads into. Blake Ferguson springs to mind. I think this could be a huge signing for the Roosters.
He's a huge signing. Like, he's like, potential-wise, should be like, going for origin spots.
Yeah, for sure.
Competing for a test jersey. That's the sort of skill set that he has. So hopefully now he finds a little bit of happiness. And as you said, he got thrown into the leadership roles and that when he wasn't a leader. He's not that sort of dude. You just want that kid. You get him on the right path, and if he's got the right coaching and the right people around him, he could be your best forward. And they're a little bit light, the Roosters, at the moment.
They are.
Hargraves is getting on, and Takayaho's leaving the club, and they're really light. Lindsay Collins is probably their young bull, who's their main forward. You put him next to that guy, then you can make a run, Roosters.
Yeah.
But without another big body in there, it's a little bit intimidating. He's got those glassy fucking blue eyes who look like he's going to stab you. He's got that sort of intimidating sort of aura about him. Put him in the right group, put him around the right people, he could be anything. And that's big raps from a lot of people like Gus and people that actually know the game. But he just hasn't been in the right environment. To West Tigers, goes overseas, goes down to Melbourne. Melbourne couldn't even really fix him because he was a young, crazy kid. And wasn't big on authority. You know what I mean? Didn't like getting told from Craig Bellamy. Goes to the Broncos, same sort of thing. They thought he was a leader. Does the New York stuff, whatever it is, and then goes to the Warriors. Just got to find the right place for that big kid, and he'll be all right. I think the Roosters will be good fit for him. Good culture, winning culture, great leaders in that team, and a great owner.
And I think if you look at him and you go, all right, well, players want to win premierships, right? That's the whole reason you play the game. And he is a big chance with the Roosters, if they've got the players around him, that if they fix a few things, all of a sudden they're winning. If he plays up, he doesn't get a contract with the Roosters.
He's playing for his livelihood now.
100%.
He's got kids and he's got more than himself to worry about.
Yeah.
So you throw those cards in there and he's still going to get paid. I think someone's paying his contract, right?
Well, he's got. I think
they're going to lose that much. I think he's on about 8.
Well, it's paying. I think the Warriors are going to pay him anyway.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to get a fair. The Roosters aren't dumb. They know what they got. Well, they'll be paying fuck all for the kid.
Yeah, I think they worked out that he's got to get. So for the rest of the year, he's got to get something like $40,000 a game or something. Yeah. So the Roosters have got that in their salary cap. Roosters have always got the salary cap. Doesn't matter. So he's gone to the Roosters, which is a good signing. The big one that's controversial at the moment is Reece Walsh. Now, Reece Walsh is another one who has used the old family reasons to not have to go back to New Zealand.
So they just went to New Zealand, get a quick pay rise, and then when they went back, fuck, I'm done.
Not going there.
I'm not going. I'll be here for 2 years, because I think they would have known when they signed. We're going to probably hear, you negotiate and they go, how long do you reckon we'll be here? Oh, probably about 2 years. Yeah, I got 2 years at Redcliffe.
Yeah, I can do that.
You know what I mean? What am I going to be on? I was on 200, now I'm on 600. You know what I mean? Staying in the same sort of region. You don't think that did not cross any of these guys' minds when they signed with New Zealand. You'd have to be a fucking idiot. Now look what he's doing now. He's going straight back to the Bronx when they go home.
I cannot believe, honestly, it just annoys me so much that they're like, he's personal. No, they haven't. The only thing that's changed is that the Warriors are actually moving back to New Zealand.
It's actually happening.
You've actually got to go there now, because literally it's the New Zealand Warriors.
Shout out to the Warriors too. Good work on the weekend.
I hope the Warriors. I look at the Warriors.
See, that's field, man. That's scary. See, that's the element of playing at Mount Smart. It sucks playing there. You get bashed. It's physical. I keep saying that sort of shit. Tigers went over there thinking they're going to beat them. They got bashed, man. That crowd is like a fucking extra man, especially when they're playing good.
The worst thing you said there was the Tigers went over there expecting to beat them. Tigers can't beat an egg. But it's funny.
I bet they expected to beat them.
Oh, did they?
No, I don't reckon either.
They're having fun, though. Interim coach of the year. Kamali.
So why is Wayne blowing up?
So basically what it looks like is that I don't know if this is true or not, and I might be saying it wrong, but it looks as if the Warriors only allowed him to negotiate, because he's got a year left on his contract.
Yeah.
So the Warriors have said, no, you can go to Brisbane. That's the only club you can negotiate with. Now, I don't know why. I don't know what's happened there. Whether they must be, I'd say...
Unless they just wanted to borrow him for a couple of years, and then when...
There could have been a little sweetener there.
Little sweetener, yeah.
And I wouldn't
If he comes back, he's got to come back to us. That's bullshit.
I reckon there could be a potential player swap, or there's going to be a sweetener as well. So there might be...
Because it was hard for him to... Remember Walsh, when he was trying to get out of his contract, they didn't really really want him to get out, the Broncos, but like because they were playing other people,
and he was playing.
There would have been something like that.
And I reckon who's
his manager?
Who are some Kiwis in that Brisbane side?
I don't know. Jordan Ricky, probably.
So Ricky, you might end up one of those Kiwi guys.
Isaka
gets
there.
Well, he's signed with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Fantesi knew. I think he might be a Kiwi.
Yeah.
So
he's Tongan now.
Is he Tongan? So
I
don't know. I reckon there's something going on.
Peter Sullivan left the Warriors to go to the Dolphins.
Who did?
Peter O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the reasons why Lodge. So Lodge is married to Sully's daughter, right?
Yeah.
So like when Lodge made these, the agreement to play for the Warriors, like he would have thought, my father-in-law's there, family support. I've got this sort of stuff because he needs that.
And Sean O'Sullivan.
You know what I mean? Now they're all out of there. I can sort of relate to what Lodge's decision not to go to the Warriors. Fair enough.
And it's cold.
It's miserable.
Very cold. Do you know what though? I want the Warriors now. There should be some sort of like every time you sign with the Warriors, and if you sign overs, like they're still having to pay players overs. Really, why they can't develop? New Zealand is the most talented place on the universe for football players, right? Look at the All Blacks. Look at everything. The amount of talent there is there. So why they're having to buy blokes from Australia on overs? There should be something in the contract where if you cite personal reasons for leaving your contract, you've got to pay the whole thing back. There's no more personal reason. You have to pay
bullshit.
It back. Stay there. Nickel Clockstadt, he's going over there.
It's good.
Which is good.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky, like I think they got him from the Warriors, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
That was when what's his name? Tuivasa-Sheck was fullback, so he had to move. So it's just like, well, that's a smart thing to do.
He was playing on the wing.
Tuivasa's done now. He's killing it with the Union, and Ricky's not playing him.
No.
So obviously Ricky's shown his hand, like, I don't really want you.
And Xavier Savage.
Is playing good. And like, Clockstadt a couple of years ago, would he get Dally M fullback of the year?
Yeah.
That grand final year a couple of years ago. So he's got talent. He's had a few injuries here and there, so he'll be a lot happy going back home. It's not a big deal for him. There won't be personal reasons if he wants to leave. It'll be just like, you're just not good enough.
I just want some cash. I just want cash.
Just give me some money.
Now, the other thing that has created controversy over the weekend, William, is the referees, the old referees. I can just...
Ricky Stewart and the referees. Should write a book like that.
The one for me, though, was the Sutton penalty on that tackle by Verrills, where he went low and the bloke went over the top of him, the Panthers player. And it was
before half-time?
It was just a normal legs tackle.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, lifting. What? What do you mean lifting?
Coaches fucking lose their shit, man.
I don't like attacking refs because
this was before half-time, right?
Yeah.
Is that it? And it sort of changed the game because they ended up scoring on half-time?
They got
the
points.
2 or some shit like that.
Points.
Yeah, and it sort of fucked them. It really it hammered the Roosters. I can see how Robbo could sort of look at that point there and go, that was a changing point. Well, it shouldn't be. It should have just like played the set. They would have kicked it. Would have went in halftime. Yeah, but Ricky Stewart, I can understand why he's losing his shit as well.
Yeah.
Like, you just look at the plays, because these coaches do so much coaching, they put so much work in, and they talk to refs all week, and they understand this and the interpretation of the game and what's happening here and there and why this, that, why and the other. And then they do the absolute opposite and there's no penalty. You know what I mean? Like, I can understand why Ricky just loses his shit. That was an important game for Canberra to win.
Because I'm just trying to find what Ricky Stewart actually said, because he didn't go off his head.
No. He was
he's sick of getting
like
fined.
A psycho.
He's sick of getting fined. He just had that look of
serial killer look.
Tomorrow I'll get an apology, or there'll be justification of there not being a penalty.
Right, because I saw
and he was right. So Phil Gould, your man, said, old bloke told me there's a rule of thumb for refereeing and penalties. If you can't give it in front of the posts at 12 or with a minute to go in the grand final, you shouldn't be giving it at any time.
Yep.
And that's
that is good.
That's a good way of looking
at it. Good
at
analogy. And that's the way that the refs should be able to ref. I don't understand. Like, these guys there's professional athletes now. They're getting paid so much money. Make the right calls. And you wouldn't have all these backlash from players and refs and fucking fans. Like, just make the right call. These calls are all in the hands of the ref, right?
Yeah.
You have all the power there, and you still make the fucking wrong call. That's what you're looking at. If you're a coach and if you're a player, make the right call. We're trying to do the right thing. You do the right thing. It's simple. Why is it so hard? Why are we always talking about this shit all week?
I don't know. Like, you'd probably know better than me. Like, there's got to be some sort of pathway system for refs, doesn't there? Like,
people. I'm not sure how many people want to be refs because look at the most.
It's the worst job.
Fucking worst job in the world. Look at them. I mean, most refs are good blokes. Like, they're all right, but like just little things like this when they can help themselves and they still make the wrong decision. Like, then they deserve all the shit they cop.
And it's funny too, because this is a week where, you know, we filmed this and you just saw my young bloke and he's got a pretty impressive looking black eye. This kid, he was playing footy a couple of weeks ago and the referee didn't turn up. So it was being reffed essentially by, the rules are that if an appointed referee doesn't turn up for whatever reason, then people that are qualified, they do half from each team. So the first half was refereed by someone from the other team and the second half. Now, these aren't professional referees and I'm talking about kids sport, but my young bloke got hit in what was a pretty impressive shot to the head.
He got smashed.
He got an egg up.
Cheap shot, man. I thought you can't shoulder charge in union.
Well, you can't, but then because there's no ref, there'll be no penalty.
So the kid didn't even get sent off?
Kid didn't even get anything.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, you do need referees. So good work, referees.
No, I'm all for referees. I think they got a hard job, but like, it's your job.
It's your job.
It's your job. Why do you want to be shit at your job?
They probably don't want
You know
to
what I
be
mean? But it's all in your. But it's up to you to make the right decision. Like, those are two clear calls that you should make. If you're a good ref, it's not that rule. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you got to give a penalty, and you don't give a penalty. Black and white in my eyes.
Yeah.
These aren't like, there's not much grey area in these rulings. You know what I mean? If you don't have to be a genius, if you didn't know anything about the game and I showed you the rules and then I showed you that, you went, that deserves a penalty.
Yeah.
And that doesn't.
And that's a tackle. That's actually a tackle.
Yeah, that's a tackle. That's how you tackle.
That's what you do in rugby and rugby league.
And then the guy goes, yeah, well, this is stupid.
It's funny though in union because Cal, you know, my very dear friend Callan, he was on a real pathway to be a referee, and he's refereeing.
Then he had a chat with me,
and
then we had a couple of beers together,
and he said, "I'm never doing that again."
Yeah, this is fucked.
And he got a call, so he's now on the #1 worst referee decisions ever on Foxtel because
Cal is?
Yeah, Cal. So there was a bloke that went out.
Cal.
There was a bloke that went out, and it went to the TMO, and the bloke was dead set in the grandstand. 100%, like he was in the car park, he was that far out, and the TMO goes, you may award the try, and Cal looks at him going, he was like, oh. But the TMO said, you may award the try. Mate, that was the end of his referee career, pretty much. He was back refereeing park football.
Make the right call, mate.
Cal, should have backed yourself, Cal.
Back yourself.
Brian To'o, how is this controversial? He has said that he wants to play for New South Wales because that's his state, and he wants to play for Samoa because that's his country. Cue outrage. What is the problem?
Because it's Origin, because it's Brian To'o. He's a big name now, and it's a big deal, Origin. So if you make any comments like that, they're going to run with it for the whole of Origin. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is with the media. I don't think it's a big deal. I think he has every right to play for New South Wales because he made his allegiance to New South Wales when he was at a proper age, I suppose. What, 14, 15 or 16 or something like that? I'm not sure about the... When do you have to do your allegiance,
I think it's
Henry?
14.
I think it's 14 or 15. Just find that out.
Yeah.
So I think he's pretty sure he said he wants to play for New South Wales. So therefore, the international game, you can pick whoever you want to play for. What is there a big deal? Because he's Brian To'o and because he's going to be in the Australian side and he might start a big exodus of players.
One thing...
Papa could come, Tino could come, Payne Haas could come, Luai, Crichton. You've seen those fucking names. If they all drop out of the Aussie team, who's playing for Australia?
Well, that's the thing, Will. Like for years, and you played for Australia in an environment or in an era where it was you'd beat England comfortably every time you played them. I mean, there might have been, you know, like in terms of, it was tough games. I'm not saying they weren't tough, but you would not, more often than not, Australia would win. New Zealand, they'd get the odd win, but essentially Australia dominated International Rugby League for a long time, right? Now you've got a situation where you can put in a genuine international competition where you've got Samoa, you've got Tonga,
six nations at least.
You've got England, you've got Australia, and then you can probably have a look at a few of the other island nations as well, like Fiji, if they start to improve. And you've got somewhat of an international competition. Now, why people don't want to support that is beyond me. It doesn't devalue state of origin. All it's saying is that blokes that have a heritage in a country other than Australia, they want to play for that heritage. And I don't have a problem with it.
Mate, most people don't. And it's only like a minority that does, because they want Australia to be like this big powerhouse like it has been for the last 100 years. Like, we rarely get beat. International game is suffering big time because of the fact that we don't get beat. You know what I mean? So now it's sort of, you understand, like when I played in 2000, it was 5% rosters Polynesian and Indigenous. Now it's 60% plus. Yeah. 60% plus is Polynesian and Indigenous. You know what I mean? So it's no secret. The Polynesian brothers are taking over. They are, like, and look at the influx. Look at like the Polynesian influence on Origin. If you take all the Polynesian guys out of Australia, I mean New South Wales and Queensland, it's like 12 or 13 players. I think even more.
Yeah.
Hang on,
I'll have a look at that list. I'll have a look at that list. So you've got
To'o's out, Crichton's out, Tupou, Luai, McLean, Coruscant,
Trebojevic,
Paulo, Talakai, Saifidi. So that's in New South Wales, and then you got Val Holmes, Tuolangi, Big Papa, Jeremiah Nanai, Fasil Malawi.
Well, Ponga's old man.
That's about it.
Maori.
And Fido and Tabuai Fido, who can play for Samoa. So what are you talking about? Like 13 players? It's a fair few. Like, just say, wind the clock 10 years ago. Back 10 years ago, there's nowhere near 13. It's probably about 6.
Yeah.
So you look at the people that would make the Australian side in that. You're talking the To'os, Luais. I think Appy would be close. Junior Paulo. Big Papa, Tino. You know, there's six something starters there. So that's a big thing out here. That's a big chunk out of your 30-man squad that you're going to pick for the World Cup.
Yeah.
You know, like, and just say if they all go back to their home, sort of, you know, Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, like, it's gonna, like, it'll affect Australia. But like, it's Australia. We're Australia. Like, we should be the best, regardless. Like, and it's a World Cup, and I think these guys should get the opportunity to go back to their homeland and represent their people. You understand, man? The islands are so small, man. It's so tiny. You know, like Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, they're tiny little islands, man. They're getting represented by all these big players like Taumalolo and all these guys. Did you see the love that they got when they went back?
Yeah.
And how it's like built up like rugby league in this one little nation. You know what I mean? Like, it's just unbelievable what they do. Like, Australia's always going to be Australia. We've got the best players in the world. Why are we whinging? I don't think who's whinging. I mean, there's probably a few people in the media and stuff like shut up.
Well, I think Gallen actually...
I don't think Gal's on the same page as we are.
No, he's not. He said... what happens when Tonga and Samoa eventually become a tier 1 nation? They're not far off it now, which they aren't.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But that's but that's what if.
He's saying, are Kiwi players then allowed to play Origin? Like, I think if it's a pretty simple thing, right? So if you look at someone who, like James Fisher Harris, right? Now he's a proud Kiwi.
Yeah.
Now is he going to want to play for New South Wales? Probably not.
No.
Because why would he? Because he's from New Zealand and he's a New Zealander. So it's a different situation from these kids that are coming over from the island. And their parents might have come over.
They're like all sort of New Zealand based. So look at me. I come over when I was 5. You have your allegiance to Australia. I always wanted to play for Australia, so I never played for New Zealand. I wanted to play for Tonga because of Mum's heritage. I end up doing everything, you know, representing Mum's family, and then playing for New South Wales because I wanted those dreams as a kid, and playing for Australia. Like, you can't. It's just not. You can still do everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why are you taking those things away from these young players?
Don't you reckon, though, Will,
it's terrible.
There's no way that someone who considers themselves a New Zealander, they're a proud New Zealander, they want to represent New Zealand when they're a kid, they're not going to want to play for New South Wales
you don't.
Because they don't care.
Perfect example, look, Jason Taumalolo come over when he was 13 years old, had the choice to play for Tonga, play for New South Wales, Queensland or Australia. He picks New Zealand. Knowing full well that he cannot represent New South Wales.
100%.
So you've got to understand that. Like, and it's different from my age, 5 years old. Don't really know what the fuck's going on, do you? You know, you get brought up in Australia, dad's an Aussie, and you get indoctrinated into that sort of culture, and you just want to play for that. Want to play for the green and gold jersey when you're looking at TV when you're like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, looking at Bradley Clyde and all that, and knowing that's the pinnacle of the game, then looking at Origin because you know it's the toughest sort of arena in the world, and you have that chance to do all that. You don't take those dreams away from the kids, because it's different when you come over when you're 16, 15 years old from New Zealand or the islands, or stuff, or not the islands, but like from New Zealand. They're not going to play for. They're not going to want to play for New South Wales. No. And if they did, they would say, I want to play for New South Wales. Therefore, you can't play for New Zealand.
That's it.
Carmichael Hunt. Perfect example.
Yeah.
Carmichael Hunt come over when he was like 15. Goes, fuck, I want to play for Queensland and I want to play, but I want to play for Australia. Because he knew he had to throw, because he wanted to play for Queensland so much, he had to throw that black and white jersey away.
Yeah.
That's the sacrifice you make. And that's it. Like, it's up to the individual where your heart lies and what you love and what you look at when you're a young kid going, fuck, I want to play Origin, I want to play for Australia, I want to play for New Zealand. They're the main things that you think about. Now these other young kids who have that heritage of being Tongan or Samoan, they can go, I can still play for this and still play Origin and still play club football. Like, this is not a big deal to me.
And I reckon the other thing, Will,
because these guys who want to play for Tonga don't want to go and play for New Zealand.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not a stepping stone to New Zealand anymore. Like, just say when I played in the World Cup for Tonga, when I was 18, 19, I still had a chance. I still could have said, I want to play for New Zealand.
You got 7
you know
passports. You can play for everyone.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like, I could have went and said, I want to play for New Zealand because I still haven't represented Australia. But they make you make those decisions a lot earlier now.
When
you know what I mean? So
you think when
it's confusing as fuck, really.
When you're travelling, right? You're overseas and you meet someone in a pub, or I shouldn't say pub. You meet someone
in a library,
in the library, and they go, "Where are you from?" And you go, "Australia." How many people go, or New Zealand, or how many?
I say I was born in New Zealand, come over when I was 5. Dad was Australian, Mum's Tongan and Samoan. That's my first thing.
You shouldn't talk that much in libraries.
No,
that's too
they
much.
go, shh,
stop,
get out, you stupid.
Get out of that section.
Righto.
That's
how I explain myself.
But don't you reckon? No one says I'm from New South Wales or Queensland. Your heritage is your country, and you're born in a state, or you grow up in a state, or whatever. Like, you don't have that same connection to your state as you do as your country. So if you look at these Kiwis, they don't want to play for a state because they don't care. Man. But if you look at the kids that come over and they grow up in New South Wales, they watch Origin, they want to play for New South Wales because that's something for them. But when it comes down to it, they're still Tongan, they're still Samoan, they're still... So why take that from them? Anyway, we've solved that.
Done.
We have solved that, and that will take us into State of Origin.
Send that to Valandis, he'll understand. He's a big fan of the show.
He loves the show. How are you, Pete? Well done. Good work in all the stuff that you're doing. I don't know what you're doing because you haven't been on the paper. You're more worried about the racing. So let's go into Origin.
No, we've got to do something, mate.
That's a section. He's like, shut up. No, we're going to Origin because we'll do the Origin preview, Will, because you'll be gone up there, no doubt. And so we won't film until after.
Probably Thursday or Friday next week, I reckon.
Yeah, we'll do Friday.
Depends if I come home.
Please. So... this game, there's been one change for New South Wales in that Jordan McLean is the starting prop, which I think was a bit of a surprise to a few. Then you've also got, I guess, the situation where Jack Wighton was not put in the centres. They've retained the same centres, and Latrell Mitchell made himself unavailable, which probably removed a couple of selection headaches. Would you have picked Wighton after his first game?
No. I mean, I thought he was our best player, but we still lost. You know what I mean? Like, understand, like we were like so poor in game 1. He was just a shining light in how shit we played. Honestly, like, he was the only shining light in a really bad performance from us. And like, when you play at your best, like we did in game 2, and you got to stick with those guys. And that Burton Cleary combination out on that left edge, Luai, it's too dangerous. You can't fuck with it. I just think you don't mess with that. And as I said, like, no hate on Jack. Jack's been great. Like, Jack's a good player. I think he should have been in the 17, but he's not. I think he understands that. But like, you got to understand, Burton played outstanding. That whole left edge was on fire. You don't change that winning formula. You just don't. And even Latrell, if Latrell was available, I wouldn't pick him either.
No.
And I think Latrell probably knew that. Like, it's not like it's Andrew Johns or Brad Fittler coming back in the team. He warrants some sort of demand of respect. Like, he's up here. I think he's a freakish player. He's probably got another 10 years of Origin, to be honest. But like, he's probably a little bit underdone. Like, come into a game 3, do you really want that? He would easily handle it. But, like, I don't think he really thought himself he was going to slide straight back in the team.
No.
I honestly don't think so. That's why he made the call on it himself. He goes, all right, I'm not going to make myself available. Good on you. I credit Latrell for that because he's a man. He does that sort of stuff. But like, it's not even a fucking discussion with Jack and Burton.
No.
Obviously there's not much to talk about with the team, so they've got to make up some shit.
Well, let's talk about the only thing. Well, first of all,
I think it's the biggest. Sorry, with the McLean started.
McLean. So let's talk about that. So Campbell Gillard gets picked as he started in the first Origin. He gets resold for the second. There's an injury, and is he a victim of the fact they lost that first game? He's had a couple of cracks at Origin now and been dropped after one game, maybe two games. Might be a little bit of trouble in paradise maybe, but I don't know. How do you feel about that, Will? Do you reckon he deserved another shot?
Well, if you're going to pick a big body, like Jordan McLean and him, probably about the same size, you know what I mean? Like, they're a big body. Guys like, Big Papa and that love tackling big blokes like that. So, in saying that, like, I think I would go with starting Junior Paulo straight away and then fucking around with the bench, either McLean or Campbell Gillard. That's what I would have done. I wouldn't have thrown this young kid straight in there. And then Freddie might pull out and Paulo might start. That still might happen, but maybe not. Maybe they just trust McLean that he can do a job, which is massive. It's game 3 at Suncorp. It's probably the biggest game he's ever played in, other than his grand final. And I think that would have been that big because he played like the Cowboys. They were always going to beat the Cowboys in 2017. Remember that? They had a dominant team, and I don't think it would have been that big a deal. And I think he was coming off the bench. He's starting now. A different beast. Game 3 is probably the hardest game he's ever going to play. I'm not sure how many hard games these kids played. He's played a few tests here and there, a few injury troubles. I'm rooting for the kid. Of course I want him to play good, but I'm like, geez, it's a big ask. If he comes out and just gets I don't know, like he doesn't.
It's sink or swim.
Yeah, it's a sink or swim mentality, and obviously they trust the kid, and he's got ability. He's a big body. I just don't think they're aiming for that many big bodies in New South Wales. They want quick, fast, powerful sort of players. That's what I think. They'd never pick both of them in the team at the same time. It was one or the other. Yeah, that's what I think. I just think you can't have, because Queensland's very good defensively. Just because they're big doesn't mean that you can find your front in that all the time. It means that there's more levers for good defensive systems to hammer you and roll you on your back and all that kind of stuff. So look at all the body sizes in New South Wales. Yeah, they've got some big boys over there with Lindsay Collins and Big Tino. Everyone else is pretty well built. They're not 6'5", all that kind of stuff. Not many players are like that anymore. Payne Haas is out, obviously. Did he get injured on the weekend, Payne?
Yeah. I mean, he's been playing injured the whole time. Yeah,
it's his AC, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and he's been obviously playing through pain. So, and I get that. To go up there and play.
Game 3 with that. There's only so much the jab can fucking help. Yeah, you start feeling it like it's normal now. So anyway, Jordan McLean, there's a big job for you now. I hope he just grabs it with 2 hands, dominates, and we fucking kill it because of him. Because that's so much pressure's on him. He's either going to get absolutely hammered and ridiculed if we lose the game, because we're going to lose it. If we lose the middle, we lose the game.
Well, do you know what now happens, Will? And this is something we didn't get to talk about this last week because obviously I was too busy being basically an Olympic athlete in the snow. But what about Trbojevic and his performance in that game, shoring up the middle? So he now plays bigger minutes in the middle. So Trbojevic, if McLean comes in, Trbojevic probably plays a lot more minutes, and then you share game time between McLean and
man. And even you can give like a Cam Murray, just say any of that back row. They're very movable pieces there. So just say Jake or Jordan blows out. You put Junior Paulo back in. You can put Cam Murray in the middle. You can put Liam Martin in the middle. Isaiah Yeo gets busted. You put Cam Murray back down. Yep. At lock, Liam Martin can play that. Angus Crichton comes in as the back row. Very movable pieces. Talakai, I'm not sure what's happening there with his game time, but I want to see him and Paulo and someone just come on the back end and give him 10 minutes and just go straight through the ruck and cook.
Well, he came on late in the
last 15 minutes. The game was over. He's sort of just going, here you go, here's your Origin jersey, you debut. I want him out there in the thick of things. But that pack is very movable and very mobile and can play. Even Crichton can play front row. Talakai can play front row. Push Isaiah Yeo up. If anything happens in those in the middle there, Coruscant gets injured. You got Damien Cook there. Jordan McLean gets injured. You got Junior Paulo. You got Talakai can play front row. Anything. So it's a very mobile pack. If we do our job and we play to our best like we did game 2, we should get it. But saying that fucking 10 minutes in the bin with Kafusi, As soon as that happened on the field, I went, game over. I said it in Perth, I was sitting next to the great Terry Lamb. I said, that's game over. It's fucked. And then Braith and Asta. Because you can't have a right four, one of the best right four defending players in the game, or left four, and then you get sent for 10, then you understand how hard your middles have to work. One of the middles have to go right four, so you got pretty much 3 people in the middle getting blasted. And it was great work from our guys because we knew we would get them in the back end of the game, the second half. And then they will come on and then look at the gaps, like the Carrigans and that slipping off tackles where Luai's going through. Cleary scoring 2 late tries. That was because they're under fatigue. They were fucked. Because of that 10 minutes in the bin. It's like a fucking treadmill going at like 50 kilometres an hour in the middle. And it busts you. And that's what happens. I don't think it was a stupid call, to be honest, from the refs again. Like, I get it, but it's Origin. It wasn't like he was holding him down for fucking 10, 12 seconds. It was just like, he's just trying to slow down a little bit. I don't think it warranted that because you've ruined the fucking game again. Anyway, I don't care because we won.
What if you look at? See, I look at the Queensland
biased.
side.
I was like, yes, but I was like, you fucking ruined the game.
Didn't ruin it. I think
It did.
those bins.
You talk to a Queenslander.
Yeah.
It's all they talk about. I talk to them after go. He fucking nigga, shut up.
Yeah, but that was because they can sook. They just like
Yeah,
sooking.
they like sooking. But I'm just saying, I hope that happens again at Caxton when I'm on there. Come at me, Queensland.
Tell me, do you think? So this is a classic Queensland. They got pumped, right? It's the old pick and stick. So the only change in that side for Queensland is Nanai coming in the starting because Kafusi, unfortunately, is dealing with a personal issue. It's an actual personal issue.
Yeah, he's got a real one.
They haven't made any changes to a side that got beaten and beaten well. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for New South Wales? Is that the pick and stick?
I honestly don't think they think they got beat by that much.
Yeah.
Because of the 10 minutes in the bin, because a few things got fucked up and some bad calls and that, they'll be thinking, we've still got these guys. Because they broke our line pretty well. They were in that game till that 10 minutes. Trust me. So they'll be thinking, if that doesn't happen again, we'll be in it for longer. You know what I mean? I swear to God, that'd be their mentality. They're not worried about the scoreboard. They had a couple of late tries to Cleary and all that sort of stuff. And, the floodgates open. They weren't even, I swear that's their mentality. Next game, next man up, next game. We'll get them at home. As I said, like that game 2 was so important for New South. It was so important. It was the biggest game that Freddie's ever faced in Origin as a coach, and even some of those players, because we've always won game 1 in the last 4 years. So none of those players played beyond those 4 years. You know what I mean? It's a new squad. So you got all these young kids who never faced game 2, and then they fucking got the balls to come out and deliver that. And I think that'll get us over because they went over there with everything on the line. Now we're going to go up there with everything on the line.
Yeah.
So we're not scared of Suncorp because we've dusted them up there in the last 4 years, 3 times? It's only when the people start hyping up, we haven't won there since 2005 and then decide, I get it, but we're not scared of Suncorp. Get it through your heads.
But you go up there 2-0 as well. And
yeah, I'm just saying, you take the crowd out of it, all that sort of shit. It's a decider. It's great for the game. I love seeing a decider. This is going to be amazing, but New South Wales is not scared of going up to Suncorp and fucking beating these guys. They're not. That is done. There's no trauma for these young kids. They didn't play in the era that I played in the 2010s where we got fucking smacked at Suncorp. None of these kids have that. All they have is good memories about beating Queensland at Queensland, and that's it. Now that's what will get them over.
All right, prediction time.
New South Wales 13 plus.
You predicted that last time and you were right. Everyone looked there. I thought
Luai, not Luai. Cam Murray, players player, man of the match.
Man of the match, Cam Murray. All right, I'm going to say New South Wales 1-12. Man of the match, I am giving to James Tedesco.
Yeah, I hope he gets it. He's been playing outstanding, Teddy. Big boys.
No, we're going to just do a quick preview of the games that no one cares about. Sharks Storm.
Sharks.
Storm no good?
No, too many players out.
Yeah.
I mean, is Pappenhausen out again?
No, he's playing.
Who's missing? So Munster, Harry Grant, Kafusi.
They haven't got that many out.
Not that many.
No.
Fuck. Still big parts. Munster's a big part.
Yeah.
Harry Grant. I mean, it'll be all right because Sharks haven't lost anyone.
No.
Talakai. That's about it.
Hines.
And Hines gets to play. Hines gets to
because
play.
he was 19th man. Knights, Rabbitohs. I don't know why the Rabbitohs are so short here. They've got blokes. Reggie the Rabbit's playing for the Rabbitohs again this week.
Yeah, who did I pick? Did I pick the Knights?
You picked the Knights.
They played pretty good last week.
Yeah,
Even though it
did.
was against the Gold Coast and they're woeful, I think we played all right. Tex Hoy played good. They didn't have Kalen Ponga, so that was good for their. I don't know. They just said. I think they've won more games without Ponga. It's a terrible thing for Ponga.
But they don't rely on him then.
They're not really relying on him, so it's
They've got
good for those young kids to have that confidence of going in. Yeah, we can beat some good teams without Ponga.
What do you reckon about Holbrook? He's got to be on the Dally M Interim Coach of the Year list soon too, doesn't he? The Titans?
Yeah.
He's got to be Gonzers. They are
This one,
woeful.
I think.
They lost to the Knights. They've got 2 weeks off, so...
Yeah, I think that something might happen next week with those guys. Something big.
He's got full support of the board. That means you're gone. The Tigers... Can you sack an interim coach? Who's the first interim coach?
He's going to be on the chopping board.
Who's the first interim coach?
First interim coach to be sacked is Brett Comorley.
What about Brad Arthur too? Brad Arthur, every time... I love the Eels. They've got such a passionate supporter base. Every time they lose a game that they're not supposed to lose, then all of a sudden Brad Arthur can't coach and he's got to go. They lose one game and they're like, he can't coach.
Who did they get beat with last week?
They got beaten by the Bunnies in a
Bunnies
game.
played good because Bunnies should have... They got a good team.
And Ilias did come back.
played good. That's good.
He bounced back well.
Their forwards played well. Big Tommy played good.
The Broncos Dragons. The Dragons being at 225 here.
Do you count last week's games? Like the Bulldogs and Sharks. Like I've never seen fucking more atrocious weather in my whole life than playing in that. And then I watched even worse was St George and Canberra. Because it was 60-kilometre winds, plus pissing down.
Anyone who went to that game has
Look at the hill. See that? Oh, my God. And they stayed there the whole time. They should get free tickets for fucking the whole life.
Forever.
For even staying there.
It was actually nice seeing the Dragons run out in the Steelers strip for the first time.
Yeah, it was good. It's a good strip, though.
They should have brought back Stanley. Just for the night.
Mick Neal looked good in that.
When he was straight off the benches, straight in the suit.
Oh, I'd be like, please play with the away jerseys if I was Mick every game.
Real
Just
club man, Mick Neal. So, Broncos, Dragons, we'll go to...
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's hard to get excited about...
I'm not. Probably only watched one game.
Yeah. Whoop.
I watched the KO Minis. Big boys.
Willie's Big Boys.
Oh, I love that bit. The big boys were at it again on the weekend. They were outstanding, actually, considering the shit weather. The game, who do you reckon was the best game last week, you reckon?
Didn't watch a thing.
Cowboys and
Actually,
Broncos.
I watched
that was
the
a good
Sunday
game. You see the difference? I think our game is not a wet weather game. It is fucking atrocious. It goes from like 10 out of 10 to like a 2. Because I watched the Bulldogs and the Sharks and then the Cowboys and Broncos. Fucking ridiculous. Anyway, 1 point goes to my big man, Tom Burgess, because they played outstanding. And the Eels have a fucking really good pack. And he come off the bench, played 59 minutes, 19 hit-ups, 184 metres. I probably should have given him more points.
1.2.
Outstanding. He was outstanding. 2 points, Taumalolo, just because of the pressure of this game. So I always go about who you're playing, pressure of the game. Taumalolo, 58 minutes, 16 hit-ups, 162 metres. You know what I mean? It's disgusting the numbers he's putting up. And I thought the hardest game of the round was Panthers and Roosters. Fisher Harris sort of flexed his muscles again, saying, you know what, I'm the best prop in the world. 54 minutes, 20 hit-ups, 16 hit-ups, 183 metres. I understand these guys are well over 90% efficient tacklers, and you throw a couple of offloads in there and just the amount of minutes that they're playing, it's just fucking ridiculous. So we'll go to the leaderboard. Third is Junior Paulo with 10 points. Second, Fisher Harris, 13. And number 1, Jason Taumalolo, outright first on 14 points.
Where's Tolman?
Tolman is dead last. Minus.
All right, let's talk about betting this week. Let's talk about betting because I am once again a genius.
We won, guys.
We won. Everyone won except the producer. So I won the huge total of $354 for the bet that I can't remember. And
What about how good we were on the weekend, guys? Like, I thought I won the bet. I was going to tweet it and everything because of you fuckwits. And you go, you're still alive, because I didn't know what my bet was. Shout out to Bobby. And then And then you go, yeah,
know
you
what
only got
was?
one leg left. And I was sitting there watching the St George and Canberra game, which was the lowest fucking game of the whole week, to the death. Until
Sweating on it,
they
he
didn't
was.
get the penalty, and I was like, yes, St George, yes, we win. I was
did
going to
not.
even tweet it and everything, and I was
I
like,
wish you had.
yeah, I would have like an idiot.
Do you know
anyway,
why?
I was out the first leg.
Do you know why though?
That's
Because
fucking Henry's fault.
I tweeted one team, one dream, because if I win, we all win. Everyone
Yeah,
wins.
yes, of
The
course.
whole team.
The kids win.
The kids win, which is most important. Except the only person that doesn't win is the producer because he's a dirtbag. And I said we all win except for Craig.
Yeah.
But Henry took that to mean all the bets were live except for Craig's, which is probably pretty accurate because he never
Yeah.
wins.
I thought I was in.
Well, anyway, we have now got $1,273.
Well, look at your bet. You've fucking safeties.
Do you know what?
Safety Sam.
Well,
over here.
I've gone the Dragons 1-12 into the Eels to cover
Throw
the
in
start.
an anytime try scorer. Live.
Nah, because I'll tell you why.
Live.
Actually, you got that
Get a
wrong,
front
Henry.
rower.
It's $6.08. So I think that was. So I win another 300 and something, which will take us up to 1,500. Because you know what? I'm just carrying this on my back.
Yeah, you are.
Go,
Anyway,
William.
mine is Pappenhausen, anytime try scorer. Alex Johnson, anytime try scorer. Eels and Broncos. What? What is that? Eels versus...
Eels flat, I think. So Eels
Eels just to win?
Just to win.
And the Broncos and Dragons over 39.5.
Yep. Do you know what that means?
That's the accumulation of points, isn't it?
Well done. You're learning.
I don't want to learn.
And then the
I
producer,
don't need another issue.
You don't need vices. That is one thing that William Mason does not need is another vice. So the producer, we still don't know what this means.
The field.
Yeah, I searched it up and still don't know.
Is he? So you don't know what? Is it something?
It's
to
a
do with
bet, but
tennis?
isn't
I
it?
had a little tennis.
Is it Wimbledon?
It must be Wimbledon. So
Curios. He's betting on Curios.
maybe I wish we could bet on Curios. I hate
He's a man. Good luck,
So
Curios.
maybe the field generally means in a bet that like it's something is going to win, and then you bet on everyone else except for that person. So
Yeah.
it must be obscuring. Maybe Djokovic or Nadal. and then
Someone
you
else is
take
like
out-
the serious guy, and then everyone else.
and then
take
everyone
the
else the
field.
field.
What would you be doing all this subliminal bullshit, fake?
It's big guns v the field, so it's probably the top ranking people.
Oh, it'd be the top rankers versus the field. Yeah.
I think it's the top rank versus the field.
Well done, Will.
Anyway, plus the
so
Western
we'll go-
Bulldogs and Rabbits to win. So I was paying $21. It's going to over 1,000. So hopefully the field wins.
Now, with the tips from last week, what happened there, Henry? Did I get
Fucking
given the Manly
sleeping
game
over.
or no?
I didn't give you that. You wouldn't have bet.
You didn't give me that. I knew you didn't. I looked at that. So I didn't put my tips in until after the first three games, and I miraculously...
I'm on the
I got
group
those
chat
three.
when you didn't answer for 3 days.
I got those three right. And so, but Henry's stolen them. But anyway, I'm still in front. So Sharks, Rabbits... Oh, producer's gone Storm. Yeah, that's all right. I want to change that, but I won't. But I'm still in front, so who cares?
What am I? Sharks, Knights, Eels, Dragons. Anyway.
Now, Twitter questions. So we have got what from the GM? What are your thoughts on the Reece Walsh contract situation? Do you think the Dolphins have a genuine reason to be upset? Well, we've covered that. GM, have a listen. Well, you're obviously listening if you hear that. Dan J, the big Daniel J, wants to know, would you have put Jack Wighton in your New South Wales 17?
I think we already went through that as
We
well.
went through that. Jeez,
But
we've got
no.
our fingers on the pulse.
So, no.
No. And Trident wants to know, what do you make of the NRL spending $25 million buying the Gambaros Hotel in Brisbane? It has 68 rooms. Surely there has to be a Willie Mason room.
I think there is actually, but Gambaros is one of the institutes of Brisbane. It's great. I'm not sure if you've been there.
No.
It's on Caxton Street. Everyone goes there. Everyone holds events there. It's massive. It's huge, beautiful food, great place. We always used to go there either in test teams, origins, club. They always get all the NRL teams in there, look after them. So I'm not sure why the NRL would have bought it. I would have bought the fucking Sydney Football Stadium before I invested in anything.
I don't think that's for sale.
Oh, no.
I think the Willie Mason
why did
room.
Melbourne? Why did the AFL buy Etihad? They could buy it.
Because they've got so much money.
Yeah, but we got so much money as well. What do they invest in that? Anyway, that's another conversation. But
What would the Willie Mason room at Gambaros, what would that look like? Padded
just
cell?
empty. Just a padded cell.
Just a padded
That's it.
cell.
It's a padded cell.
Just nothing sharp at all.
with a table.
With one table. All right, we will be twittering this week on those 4 games. There are a load of games. We will Twitter. We'll probably just Twitter and complain about it. Is that
Anyway,
it? Oh, the other thing.
rate and review.
You know what that means. Just quickly,
MasonsTake.com.
There was someone, so one of our listeners she messaged me before the Women's State of Origin game or the under-19 saying, have a look at this Jada Taylor. She's a genius. And, mate, she is that good. Like, I watched that whole game just because of this girl saying that to me. Yeah, and I was going, I forgot it was on. Playing for New South Wales fullback. Mate, she's a gun. So, yeah, thank you to Tammy for pointing that out because she is a genius. That's it. MasonsTake.com.
Bye.
What are you doing, Will, this weekend?
I'm just chilling, mate. Then I'll be in Brisbane. We've got to go on a road trip for Tab Court. Me and Willie Tonga going from Sydney all the way up into Brisbane. So we'll get at Caxton Street on Wednesday. It should be fun. The end.
See ya.
They'll be following Willie more and more. Back in the NRL is Willie Mason.
I've forgotten how big Willie actually is.
Perhaps the presence of Willie had the Panthers looking at his imposing frame.
I'm a 25-minute man. Oh, you got skill, son.
Uppercut right hand by Big Willie.
Too fancy for you.
You've been listening to The Take with Willie Mason and co-host Ian Byrne. Produced by Craig Trewick, recorded and engineered by Zig Parker of Green Room Sydney, and presented by the Handshake Media Network.